أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. المؤمنين والمؤمنات, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts and allow us to be amongst those who learn, reflect, purify, especially on the spiritual station of Friday that we just put behind us. We also offer our condolences and request all to remember all of our friends, especially the father of our dear brother, Sayyidina inshallah. Remember them all with the recitation of Al-Fatiha مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله. The discussion that we typically have on Friday nights, unless we are celebrating occasions, is the book known as Manazil al-Akhirah, or the Stations of the Hereafter. We've gone through certain parts of the book so far, and a quick reminder or summary of what we've discussed so far. Number one is the importance of this study. Why do we have to learn about what happens after death? Why is it significant? Inshallah, it's obvious, but just a quick reminder and a summary. As we know, on every journey that we go through, the more we know about the journey, the more we know about what we go through in the journey, the stations that we will come to, and basically through the journey, the things that we need, the more we learn about it, then the easier the journey is going to be. If we go not knowing much, we may not even make it to our destination, and or struggle a lot before we make it anywhere near our destination. So it's important to learn about the journeys that we go on in this life, and most significantly, the journey of life. Recognizing the fact that this life is continuous. Death is only a station, a transition. Yes, death is not the end. People often fear death. People often escape death or try to escape, flee from death. But the reality is that it's coming sooner or later and we cannot escape from it. And the best way to deal with it is actually to learn about it. And it actually removes the fear. Some of you may remember this personal experience I shared with many mu'mineen. I was teaching one of my children the concept, or some of the concepts in Surah Al-Waqi'ah. He was very young at the time. So I asked, when I'm speaking about the stations or the three groups in the hereafter, the question came, are we all going to die? And when I answered yes, the immediate response or reaction was extremely fearful, worried, to the point that they started crying actually. And I had to explain to them that death is not what you think it is. Death is not the end, it's just another beginning. And I had to explain more about death, and more about after death, and about the day of judgment, and about the hell and heaven, and most significantly the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in paradise and so on. And that changed. Obviously it changed their take on death and removed the fear. Especially, in fact, we have in the ayat and riwayat, specifically in the riwayat, one of the very, very recommended surahs to recite, to learn more about the journey after death is Surah Al-Waqi'ah. I suggest mu'mineen and mu'minat every night recite the surah. It has many, many benefits. One of them is actually the financial benefits, to have financial sufficiency, or being needless of people and needless of asking. And also it has a good benefit of learning about this life after death and the classifications in the hereafter. Because again, I've said it many times, in this world we focus on being better, higher, better positions, better jobs, better perhaps pay, and we care about statuses. We care about being given certain titles. Some people in some cultures specifically, if they study engineering, they expect to be called Muhandis, engineer. In America, you don't have that. I don't see that. So if you study medicine, okay, here they call you doctor. Over there you not call him doctor. And if you study, titles are important to us, typically, generally speaking. And we want to have better titles. We want to have better positions. But almost everybody forgets that there is a time that all these titles will drop. As soon as we depart this world physically, the titles will go. And I've shared it with mu'mineen and mu'minat. They start saying, in terms of the body, they started saying, bring the body, would you wash the body? They don't even say the name of the person. Marhum is the best. The marhum, and that's it. So title is gone. It is not really gone, but titles related to this world gone. So what's remaining is titles related to the hereafter. Why is it that we focus so much on gaining positions, gaining perhaps certain financial ability, gaining certain statuses and so on in this world, and we neglect having those titles and positions in the hereafter? In fact, the ayah that I began with, which is very, very common to recite, especially when somebody loses a loved one, they recite this ayah because it gives good news to those who are patient through difficulties, through trials. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ, surely we will test you. In fact, this وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ has more than one surely within it. This is the beauty of the Arabic language. The start of the verb, the noon in the verb with tashdid, and also the lam in the beginning of the verb, triple emphasis on the fact that God will test us. Everybody will get tested with many things. Earlier, I shared disasters that happen are tests. Loss of health, financial losses are tests. It's not because God has favoritism or favored somebody, he gave them health and did not favor the other and gave them illness. Yes, sometimes it is part of purification when we have problems, but most of the time it's part of the test. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَشِّرَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give good news to as-sabirin. What is sabirin? Sabirin is one of the titles in the hereafter. One of the titles that you could earn and we should be striving to earn in the hereafter is the title of sabirin. For example, we have the title of shakirin. This is another title. We have the title of musallin. Some of you know the story where Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Ashura says to one of the companions who wanted to pray with him this last salah, he said, جَعَلَكَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. ذكرت الصلاة, you remembered and mentioned salah, may God make you amongst al-musallin. He's not saying may God allow you to pray. The man wanted to pray this prayer. In the battlefield he wanted to pray this prayer with the Imam sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, the Imam is praying for him to gain this title. The title that belongs to the hereafter, not here. Here may not even be recognized because Musallin would not be showing off. So perhaps not many people would know them. The most beautiful salat that helps us ascend and get to the highest levels, that helped and allowed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to get to the highest level in the hereafter, the shafa'atul kubra, is salat al-layl, tahajjud, wa min al-layl fatahajjad bihi nafilatan lak, asa an yab'athaka rabbuka maqam al-mahmuda. That maqam al-mahmud, the highest and most praised maqam and status in the hereafter, is conditional to the Prophet with salat al-layl. Asa an yab'athaka. Based on what? Wa min al-layl fatahajjad bihi nafilatan lak. So, these are statuses. Tonight I want us to focus on the status of sabirin, maqam as-sabirin. One of the most beautiful, in fact, titles that are very well praised in the Quran, often mentioned, and the highest places are in fact guaranteed for those people. Good news of the highest places. Salawatun min rabbihim wa rahmah. I want you to bear with me to make this analogy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says regarding His messenger, Khayrul Bashar, the best man who walked on earth, and the one whom before his birth and appointment he was mentioned in the awwaleen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad fil awwaleen. That is the truth about this salawat. That is the salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It began from the early times, before the Prophet himself, before his birth into this physical world. You know there is the spiritual world. He existed there, and before he came into this the physical world, he was praised, and salawat was on him. وَصَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ بِالْآخِرِينَ وَصَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى. And this salawat that in fact is mentioned in the du'as and it is recommended, is actually a confirmation of the fact that this is happening. And I'll confirm it through the Quran. وَصَلِّ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ فِي الْمَلَأِ الْأَعْلَى. In the higher beings, okay, in the realm of angels, realm of malakut, not this world. The salawat is on him. So now God is saying to us in the Holy Quran, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ. It's already happening. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد We say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad fil awwaleen fil akhirin fil mala'at a'la and all of that. That is already happening by this shahada, the witnessing of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we need to do the salawat. And then He says, inna, surely. God and His angels are doing that. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna. It's confirmed. This is so beautiful for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Exclusive level of praiseworthy and salawat. But does it mean that no one else can get salawat from God? A question. Can you and I get salawat from God? The answer is very clear in the Quran. We can connect to the Prophet of God and gain salawat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by certain actions and gaining certain titles. One of them that is mentioned clearly in the Holy Quran is the maqam, the status and the title of Sabirin. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Give good news to the Sabirin. The ones that whenever they are struck with any difficulty, any trial, they say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The next ayah is the answer. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَلَوَاتٌ مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَرَحْمَةٌ. Upon those people, there is salawat from God and there is mercy from God. You see now, we can be in the same position or in a similar position with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we say similar or same, we don't mean same status, but in the same boat, if you want, with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we gain salawat from God. Alayhim salawatun min rabbihim wa rahmah, and also a mercy. Now this addition of mercy is amazing. That one of the simplest forms of understanding it is guaranteed paradise. Paradise is guaranteed. That's rahmah. But there's more than that. Salawatun min rabbihim wa rahmah. One of the meanings of rahmah there is that guaranteed ticket. Sabirin wa bashir as-sabirin. In fact, when we speak about the stations of the hereafter and what we go through after death and what would make life after this death easier, imagine going out of this life, departing this world, meeting the angel of death when you have the badges of Sabirin, Shakirin, Musallin, those beautiful badges. How would you be welcomed by the Malaika, by Malakul Maut? In fact, the hadith, when somebody asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, asked if death would be difficult for everybody, including a believer. He said no. For a believer, the angel of death is even more merciful and kind than the mother of a person. You see how the mother welcomes you into this world? Who welcomes us into this world? Yeah? She cannot wait to have you in her arms. Yeah? This is the mother. Who made her the welcoming mother in this world? Parents, the father, cannot wait to carry his son or daughter. Inshallah, they're not discriminating. I'm not stuck in the Jahiliyyah mentality. Both the boys and girls for them are just as pleasurable, if not girls being more pleasurable, being the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-banat rahmah. How merciful and kind do they look at their child? You look at a stranger's child and you look at them, typically a sane, normal person looks at them with what? With kindness, love, mercy. Yes. You see someone else's child, especially young children, and you look at them with mercy, with kindness, with love. Your own, how do you feel about them? Your own child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that mother and father have so much kindness and love and mercy for their children to welcome them into this world. And the merciful God is not going to forsake us when we depart this world and go into the new world, another strange world. For a child coming into this world, it's very scary. The first breath is painful. They start crying. And everything around them is fearful. You know, you've seen children when they're so young. They're fearful from anything and everything. The only thing that calms them is the feel and the basically scent and the heartbeat of their mother. Don't go with this thing, don't carry the child, that becomes too attached. They need it. They were there for 9 months, they're familiar with it, now you're just going to abandon them or let them sleep in their own room because this is modern training and sleep training and so on. Don't get fooled. Follow the traditions of the Prophet and his progeny, they know better. Even when it comes to how do we train our kids and put them to sleep, read how they put Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein to sleep. The best example. Don't follow any tradition that pediatrician or child psychologist, and they tell you something today, in a few days, in a few years, they tell you that was all wrong. Now this is what you need to do. That was damaging. This is good. Follow those who know everything and they're consistent with their advice and teachings and guidance because it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nevertheless, we came into this world welcomed by loving parents. As we depart this world, we would be welcomed by Malakul Maut. So what about the fear? What about all these hadith that tell us about the fear? You know, the fear is our own thoughts and realizations. We face, I'll give you a very basic example in this world. If somebody has no issues with the law, they do everything perfectly. They don't have issues in terms of their driving, when they see police, does police offer them comfort or fear? Typically, as a normal person, they have no issues at all. In a normal country, inshallah, we live in this country because typically we see the law is respected, police respects the law, and so on. They're there to what? To provide security and well-being for the people. Typically. When you see them, you're not fearful. Instead, in fact, you are comfortable. Because if anything could go wrong around you by a neighbor, by a stranger, whatever, you know that they are there. They can help you, they're witnessing, they're there for you. Yes? Because you're on the which side? You're on the right side. You're on the good side. As long as you're on the good side, you're happy to see them. If you're in trouble and you call 911, call police, you expect what? You expect them to come quick. The sooner they come, the better. Yes? You don't want them not to come, not to show up. Yeah? What if you're on the wrong side? Now the equation changes, yeah? If somebody else called for them for you, God forbid, that's when you're not happy to see them, are you? You're in trouble now. Now, is it the police that's bad, or now he sometimes comes as a good person, sometimes comes as a bad person? Or is it our action that determines whether the police comes to us positively or negatively? It is our own actions. Malakul Maut is a malak, is an angel. Yes, we have descriptions for us to understand how it could be. But it's nothing but the product of our own actions that make us see fire. Malakul Maut is a malaika, is an angel. Seeing an angel should be good or bad? Wouldn't it be beautiful to see an angel? Imagine you get to see an angel now in this world as you're living here. Wouldn't it be beautiful? Seeing an angel is a beautiful thing. Seeing Malakul Maut for a moment is one of the most beautiful experiences for them. In fact, that pleasure itself, in the hadith we are told, when the person sees Malakul Maut, a mu'min, one who has these badges, these titles, like Sabirin, when they see Malakul Maut, they are so pleased that they don't want to move to the next station. They want that experience to last. They don't want it to be over. This beautiful angel from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Beauty here is not physical. Let's not get it wrong. But if one, God forbid, has not prepared, instead of having maqam al-sabirin, maqam al-shakirin, God forbid they had maqam al-jaza. The opposite of sabr is jaza, where they could not be patient. Things go wrong in life and they start questioning God, questioning everything. Part of in fact, the response or reaction that people often justify because of the circumstances where somebody is now feeling down, depressed, stressed, therefore they take it out on others. Somebody has some financial loss, problems or whatever, and comes and takes it out on his family or her family. Husband, wife, whichever way, or others. That is jaza. That is the opposite of sabr. That is the problem. That itself is fire. Sabr is what calms us. It cools us down. The opposite of it is fire. So what happens? We depart this world without the title or badge of sabr, full of jaza, where we have no choice but to see fire. Therefore, throughout trials in life, we need to maintain sabr. In fact, the highest level of sabr that will help us gain maqam al-sabirin, I'll finish with the three types of sabr very briefly, very quickly. One type of sabr is as-sabru ala ta'ah, to be patient and persistent in obedience to God. Meaning, there are certain things that are obligatory on us, whether it be social obligations to our parents, to our family, and so on, be kind to them, provide, and whatever else. We have some financial obligations, that's part of ta'ah. And we have also worship, acts of worship, salat and salam. Oftentimes people just think when ta'ah is there, it means salat and salam, fasting and prayer, it's nothing else. No, there are social obligations, there are financial obligations, we have to meet all of them, as well as the obligation of prayers and fasting and other obligations of connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which all of it is ultimately good for us. This is one type of sabr. The second type of sabr is sabrun anil ma'siyah, to be patient and persistent against any kind of sinful act or disobedience. Temptation comes your way and you say no to it. Because it is a sin, you don't want to allow yourself to fall into sin. This requires also sabr. It seems like the second one is more difficult and more significant than the first one by the order of the hadith itself and by the hadith from Rasulullah where he says to Imam Ali that he says the best thing to do in the month of Ramadan is to stay away from sins. Al-wara' an maharimillah. He doesn't say to pray extra prayers, to recite extra recitation. He said that earlier, do these things and توفقنا لصيامه وقيامه. All of this is beautiful. The month of Ramadan is coming. Inshallah, we have the opportunity to fast and do the extra prayers. That's all well and good. But what's more important, the best thing to do is stay away from sins. This is the second level of sabr. The highest level and the most significant level of sabr is sabr throughout patience and persistence on faith throughout trials and difficulties, tribulations in life. We all will go through it. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do people think that they will be left alone as soon as they say we believe that they will not be trialed and tested? Every one of us will be tested. The more faith you have, the more trials you will go through, and you should not be, inshallah, we have enough wisdom with our faith that we don't think, I don't want extra faith if it means extra trials and difficulties, because those are the things that makes us bigger, better, higher in this world before the hereafter, and most significantly and importantly, in the hereafter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us all the opportunity to be amongst the sabirin. Grant us all the maqam, the status of the sabirin, especially those who have been tried and tested recently, those who lost loved ones. A loss of a loved one is definitely a difficult trial. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us maqam al-sabirin and the reward of the patient ones. We ask Him to make us amongst those who listen to us and follow what's best. Once again, I request Mu'mineen and Mu'minat to remember our dear brother Sayyid Maher's father with the recitation of Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.